Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to put on our detective hats to solve a really common and kind of sneaky household mystery, the leaking chimney. Now, it might seem like a baffling puzzle, but trust me, once you know what clues to look for, the case is a whole lot easier to crack.
So, let me ask you straight up. Is your chimney hiding a secret? Because that little seemingly harmless leak, it's not just a few drips. It's a problem that could be silently doing some serious damage to the structure of your home. And, it's a fact that these chimney leaks are incredibly common. They almost always start small, so small you might not even notice them. But they can escalate fast into some really extensive hidden damage. We're talking ruined drywall, mold, and even major structural problems.
All right, every good mystery has its usual suspects, right? And a leaking chimney is no different. So, to solve this case, we first need to profile our four most common culprits. Okay, first up on the lineup, we have suspect number one, the missing cap. Just think of the chimney cap like a little hat or a roof for your chimney. If that thing is rusted, loose, or just plain gone, it is literally like leaving your front door wide open during a huge rainstorm. Water, leaves, you name it, it's all getting right inside. Next, let's meet suspect number two, the cracked crown. This is that concrete slab that sits right on top of the chimney, just under the cap. Over the years, it starts to get little cracks. And those tiny little cracks, they basically become super highways for water to seep right into the bricks and mortar. Now, you really want to pay attention to this next one because suspect number three is often the main villain of the story, the faulty flashing. See this metal seal? It's the critical weak point where your chimney meets your roof. If it rusts, gets loose, or was just installed poorly from the get-go, water will find a way in. It is one of the biggest failure points in the entire system.
And for our final suspect, well, sometimes the culprit is the chimney itself. Meet suspect number four, the porous masonry. After years and years of getting hammered by rain, snow, and sun, the bricks and mortar can actually start to break down and act like a giant sponge, just soaking up moisture and pulling it right into your house.
Okay, so we've got our lineup of suspects. Now it's your turn. This is where you become the detective. Your investigation starts right now by learning to spot the telltale clues in your own home. So let's run through the checklist. Are you seeing any water stains on the walls or ceiling near your fireplace? Or maybe some rust on the damper or inside the firebox? What about crumbling bricks outside? Or have you noticed a weird musty smell you just can't place? Even hearing a faint little drip, drip, drip during a rainstorm? That is a massive clue that one of our suspects is on the loose. Okay, let's zoom in on one of those clues because this is a big one. That white, chalky buildup on the bricks? It actually has a technical name, efflorescence. It's basically the salt and mineral residue that gets left behind when water seeps through the brick and then evaporates. If you see this on your chimney, you can consider it a smoking gun. It's definitive proof that water is getting in. So, maybe you've spotted a clue, a little stain, a bit of that white powder. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? Well, let me tell you, this is what happens when the case goes unsolved and the problem gets ignored. The stakes get much, much higher. Look, a leak that you ignore is way more than just an ugly stain. The mortar can get so weak that the bricks themselves actually start to shift. That's a huge structural problem. Inside, you're looking at ruined drywall and insulation. And then you get to the really serious stuff, the health risks from mold and the terrifying fire hazard that comes from a damaged flue liner. The key takeaway here is simple. A small leak can absolutely lead to a huge disaster. There's a quote from our source material that just says it all perfectly. Water is one of masonry's worst enemies. It really is. It's this quiet, relentless force that can literally take apart a solid brick structure piece by piece if you let it. All right, enough of the scary talk. We've identified the suspects, we know the dangers, so now let's talk solutions. Let's figure out how to close this case for good and protect your home. It's time to bring in the pros and get this thing fixed. And the numbers here on this chart really tell the whole story. Look at this. A simple chimney cap replacement, pretty inexpensive, but the cost starts to climb and climb when you get into more serious issues like fixing the flashing or rebuilding the crown. The data couldn't be clearer. Catching this problem early will save you a ton of money. So when you do call in an expert, what's going to happen? Well, this is pretty much the process they'll follow. They're going to pinpoint exactly where that leak is coming from. And then they'll apply the right fix. Maybe that's sealing the crown, maybe it's replacing all the flashing, or maybe it's applying a waterproof coating to the whole chimney. This is how you make sure the problem is truly solved, not just patched up. Of course, the best way to solve a case is to prevent it from ever happening, right? So once everything's fixed, you want it to stay fixed. Being proactive is everything. Simple things on this checklist, like getting an annual inspection or just making sure your gutters aren't dumping water onto the chimney, that stuff can make all the difference and keep you from having to play detective ever again.
So there you have it. You've got the detective's handbook now. You know the suspects, you know the clues, and you know what's at stake. So the final question? That's for you. The next time it rains, or the next time you glance up at your roof, listen closely. What is your chimney telling you? Thanks for tuning in.